hate to say this about India, but dang, dude. You guys live in an epidemic of wimpy goals. The Indian entrepreneur is an amazing entrepreneur. The Indian economy over the coming 15, 20, 30 years is going to be massive on a global stage. Massive. If I owned your business, how long would you keep the job as the CEO of the business? I think I would have got fired. Most people start a business to give themselves a job. Like they couldn't get a job or they got fired from a job. Or they start a business to build their own freedom. If I had to be there, it wasn't a business, it was a job. Killing a bad business is better than running a bad business. You can kill it or it can kill you.
90% businesses never even look for a coach.
You don't know what you don't know. You're paying me to make you grow. I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna kick your backside until you actually do the growth that you need to do. If you look at the teams that are not doing well, they don't kick out every player, they kick out the coach. Replace the coach and you can replace the results.
Why can't I ask AI? Why should I go to a business coach?
I believe by 2032, we're going to have large-scale unemployment on purpose. I don't see McDonald's having employees making the burgers more than 5 years from now. What is the vision for your business? Where do you want it to go? How big do you want it to be?
Brad, I believe small and medium business owners are backbone of this country because they give a lot of employment, they pay taxes on time, but most of them don't take money back home. Mm-hmm. And I feel they are the bottleneck. You've been a business coach and you've seen it all.
Yes.
What do you think is the reason?
Look, you don't start a business to build a business in most cases. Most people start a business to give themselves a job. Like they couldn't get a job or they got fired from a job. Or they start a business to build their own freedom. And unfortunately, what you're trained to be is a technician. You're trained in the job. A hairdresser cuts hair, a plumber does plumbing. You know, they don't run a business. They create a job for themselves. And that's where you start. And in the beginning, what makes you successful is that you start there. That you're a very good plumber or you're a very good hairdresser. You're very good at the job of the business. And that ultimately means you become the bottleneck. The business can only grow as much time as you have or as much bandwidth as you have. So, you know, we see entrepreneurialism get, everyone says be an entrepreneur, start your own business. They forget that you're trading a job for someone else where you work a job for yourself. And I'm not sure which one's worse. Like I think
both is your time gets traded for money. Either if you're an employee, at least you get paid on every first of the month. Yeah. You just become self-employed. You're still trading your time for money. That you don't have a boss. Yeah. And you're not guaranteed that revenue on the first.
It's called every customer. It's called, I remember as a young man thinking my job was to be the hardest worker in my business. I didn't realize that my job was actually to build a business that could work without me. Mm-hmm. If I had to be there, it wasn't a business, it was a job. And you say that I used to think I worked for a crazy person. And then I worked out I do work for a crazy person. This guy, it's a challenge to learn to be a business owner. Mm. See, learning to be a technician, that's a job. Learning to be an operator of a business still is controlled by the amount of bandwidth you have. Learning to be the owner of a business, and wealth follows ownership. It always has. So originally ownership was about land, and then it was about, buildings and construction and manufacturing, and then it was about technology. The type of ownership changes, but ownership is what creates wealth ultimately. And I think that's where a lot of small business owners forget that they're trying to create ownership rather than just income.
So can you just give a distinction on a business operator, a leader, a owner, and an investor and entrepreneur who really starts making money, wealth? Can you give us a distinction?
Yeah, so unfortunately, our entrepreneurial education starts in school. In school, we're taught how to get a job. Now, the challenge is you should have multiple jobs in your life. You should have a job in sales, a job in marketing, a job in finance. If you can get multiple jobs, then you become a good self-employed person. But most of us end up working one job. And I'll stay with the plumber just because that's what we've started on. But that plumber learns to be a great technician. Well, the operator then is the person who then starts to employ others to do the work. So that plumber might employ several assistants, several junior plumbers, and train them up over time. They're still operating the business. If they don't show up, the business doesn't operate at all. They've got to be there every day. And that's why that person, unfortunately, never gets vacation, never gets time off, and they do become the bottleneck of their own business. Now, when you move into that management and leadership position, because the first layer of business is you with helpers. Okay, so that's sort of that first luck. The first million in business is you with helpers.
So a solopreneur is only he is running the business or self-employed. The next step is you have people working under you who does similarly like you?
Yeah, similar to you, and you're probably still the senior lawyer or the senior plumber or whatever it might be. Well, so the next phase is building managers. So you don't build a business, you build people who build a business. So firstly, you build helpers, then you build managers, and then ultimately you want to build leaders. So that operator phase is before you start building managers. Once you start building managers, then you step into the leader phase where you lead the managers sort of thing. Now, that then moves into the CEO level at the next level, because you're not a CEO of a company if you got 5 employees. Let's be blunt about that.
Okay? Let's be brutally honest about that.
If you don't have a C-level executive team, you're not the CEO if there's no other chiefs in the organization sort of thing. So 1 million, you and helpers. 10 million USD, that's where you have you and managers. You want to go past 10 million, you got to have you and leaders. Managers get the job done when you're not there. Leaders build the business when you're not there.
So the bottleneck is different for a different set of business. If somebody who's just starting off, it's a different set of issues. Somebody's already doing 1 million or 10 crores in our currency, it's a different set of issues. 100 crores is a different set of issues, right? Okay, for all that you've seen from India, let's take Indian perspective. For small and medium business owner who is a 10 crore, who wants to go to 100 crores, who is a 1 million, who wants to go 10 million, what should he do? If he has to do a diagnostics tool, saying like, I look in the business, what should he look at?
There's 3 real things you've got to do. Number 1 is you got to make the decision to do that. And it changes the business totally when you do that. See, when you set a big goal, you disrupt the business. You change the business. I say it clearly that if you set a goal that doesn't make you change, it's not a real goal. If you set a goal where you know how to do it, it's not a real goal. It's just a to-do list item. It's put it on the plan and get it done because you already know how to do it. A real goal challenges you. So the first thing is actually understand that you're going to be out of your comfort zone for a period of time. There's a lot of learning to be done and that sort of thing. Second thing is you got to build systems. Then there's no way to go from there because you can't scale chaos. So the average business at $1 million is in chaos. It runs through the owner. If the owner makes all the decisions, the owner is there every day. The owner fixes things, fixes the problems, deals with the customers, makes the big sales. I remember when I was early on, I was the sales guy. And our company was limited by how many sales I could make. Until I built a sales system and sales team, the business couldn't grow past me. So the systems is the second part. And then the third is to build the people. So decision, systems, and people. And that's really what it is. I think what a lot of business owners don't reflect on is that they're trying to build themselves out of the business. My definition of a business goes back to a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. If you got to be there, it's not a business. It's a job and you work for a crazy person. It's as simple as that. So getting to the 10, you've got to build the managers, build the systems, and then the business will grow. The managers, the sales manager will help make sales happen when you're not there. The marketing manager will bring in leads and demand when you're not there. The operations manager will make sure things are done when you're not there. And that's the whole point of it. I think that if you've got to be there every day, it means you're not building those managers. And it goes back to if you build the people, they'll build the business.
So that's where it is. So the key word in your definition is to build a business without you. That's the key word. Let's land that first. And everything you're going to do is around that, right?
Ultimately, you want to build an asset. Okay, let's be real clear on this. Every business owner is going to have an exit from their business. You're going to, I'm going to, every business
Brad,
owner.
I want to pause there so that you land it. Because the Indians' way of doing it is, most people, I wouldn't say generally, most people, they don't even think about an exit.
Yeah.
They don't want to live and die.
And that's not just India, buddy. That's everywhere in the world.
You know better.
But in India, you guys, there's a very good family generational business that doesn't exist in a lot of parts of the world.
That's the reason why people don't think, because either your family...
Well, they don't have to finish it because my family will take over, sort of thing. I don't have to delegate. I don't have to train. I don't have to, because I've got my kids to do it. And that's a problem. That is a big problem.
Okay, tell me, why should people think about exit?
Well, because if you want to build asset value, if you want to build enterprise value, it's got to be able to work without you. If you're there, there's no enterprise value. If there's no VC coming along going, I want to buy your business. Or by the way, will you please live for 200 years to keep the company running? No, that doesn't work that way. If I'm a VC or if I'm a buyer, if I'm a big company looking to buy your business, I'm buying it because it has enterprise value. Enterprise value means it has great systems and great team that run the business. And so there's a continuity factor. And so I said before, you can't scale chaos. I'm going to add one thing to that. You can't scale genius. If the business runs because of one person's genius, one person's knowledge base, one person's connections, then that business can't scale. So we've got to build business that can scale, where the buyer can see future value, not just current value, sort of thing. So you will exit your business. Now, the negative exits are, you can do it one of two ways negatively. You can kill it or it can kill you. Now, I've been quoted as saying that killing a bad business is better than running a bad business. I've met people who for 20 years have run a business that's just surviving, and they stay running that business. And it's like, oh my God, what's worse, killing it or it just surviving? Kill the thing, go get a job for a period of time, sort of thing. Don't run in a business that's just surviving. Now, the two positive exits, right? Because you can kill it, it can kill you. But positive exit one is a passive exit, meaning the business works. You don't have to go in. You turn up to board meetings. I like to think of it. So I'm a business coach, right? If I'm your coach, we meet for 1 hour a week every week. I coach you on running your business. My job as your coach is to teach you how to be the coach of your business. So eventually you should be able to run your business in 1 hour a week. You should be able to coach your manager, CEO to run that business. 1 hour a week, you work with them. They run the business. You're the owner at that point.
That's a positive exit, because you're just an owner. 1 hour a week you spend, your business is running without you.
Yep.
It's an asset, giving you fortune and wealth creation.
Passive exit.
That's one exit. Or you can sell your company also.
This financial exit is the second positive exit. So when you get to sell. Now, what makes it worth more when you sell? That you've gone passive first. You want to go passive before you go financial, so that there is a manager or CEO running the business to be able to make it worth something. Because that new buyer is buying future value, and the future value comes from that business being able to run without you there. The rule of one kills sales value. One customer, one employee, one sales tool, the rule of one kills a lot of business sales.
One founder doing everything kills it all.
Yeah. Look, when you're the founder, it's great because you have the vision of the business, but you got to increase your vision. I find we live in an epidemic, and I hate to say this about India, but dang, dude, you guys live in an epidemic of wimpy goals. The Indian entrepreneur is an amazing entrepreneur. And I don't think you guys get how good you are. I don't think you see just how good you are on a world stage. The Indian economy over the coming 15, 20, 30 years is going to be massive on a global stage. Massive. And I just don't understand why the Indian entrepreneurs don't have more belief in themselves than they do.
They do, Brad. They just are
Some
way too
do.
comfortable.
Some do.
And most people are way too comfortable.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what works here, because the volume is there.
Yeah.
What you create here, you have to sell here, because the volume is there.
Yeah.
The buying power is there.
1.6 billion people is pretty good.
The buying power is there. So things happen and people are way too comfortable. And as you rightly said, let me talk about the negative exit, which I really like the way you said, right? Either you kill the business or the business kills you.
Yeah.
And the right thing to
it's
do
not
is
funny,
stop.
but it is. Yeah.
Right thing to do is you stop the business which is not working. For people, some of things times I talk to small, medium business owners. So this is the thing they say. Suryan, this is the only thing I know. What do? They do a business. That's the only thing they know. their identity is built around the business. They're not making profits. You see the balance sheet, it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
Even everything falls in place, it's not going to work. But still they don't
It'll pay the bills.
Yeah, still they don't close.
Yeah.
What is your message for people like that?
Get a coach.
Get a coach.
Get a coach. Look, I've worked with business owners who were 20, 30 years in business who had, it just didn't take off. And the thing is, unless you're getting new knowledge, unless you're getting outside help, there's 3 reasons coaching really works. Number 1 is the new knowledge. Okay. The coach brings knowledge. The coach brings you books that you would never have read, asks you questions that you would never have answered, brings you videos. The coach brings knowledge. Okay. The second reason coaching works is outside perspective. You only see, you don't know what you don't know. All you see is this is the way we've always done it, and this is the way I think we should be doing it. When you get an outside perspective and they start looking at your business and say, well, hang on, this isn't any good. Well, I think it's good. No. Compared to other businesses, these numbers are not good. This is not the way it should be. And the third reason coaching works is accountability. The biggest challenge for small business is real simple. You're the owner and the manager. If you're the owner and the manager, you're very good at lying to yourself. Let's be crazy blunt about this. You go home and you say, hey, Mr. Manager, how did you do? Very good, Mr. Owner. How did you do today? Oh, excellent as well. Like, if I jokingly said to a group a couple of weeks back, if I owned your business, how long would you keep the job as the CEO of the business?
That's the litmus test.
And they all looked at each other and went, I think I would have got fired. Right, you would have, because you're not pushing yourself as hard. Big business has an advantage. They have shareholders, a board of directors who demand growth, demand success, demand more profitability. Now, who's demanding of a small business owner anything other than paying the bills? Nobody. Once you get a coach, all of a sudden you've got someone in your corner who's your cheerleader, brings you the knowledge, but also they demand your growth. You're paying me to make you grow. I'm going to push you. I'm going to kick your backside until you actually do the growth that you need to do. And I think that's one of the challenges that we don't want to admit as business owners. We don't want to admit we need a coach. We don't want to admit that a coach would help us. But look, every great sports person, actor, singer, championship team had a great coach. No 2 ways about it. Like, I'm watching the IPL yesterday, right? And I'm sitting there going, look, if you look at the teams that are not doing well, they don't kick out every player. They kick out the coach. Replace the coach and you can replace the results.
That tells you very clearly who's actually driving it. So your coach does 3 things: knowledge, perspective, and accountability. These 3 things are very critical. And as you rightly said, a business owner, he's the boss. He will lie to himself. He'll say, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, and never do it. And he only gets pushed to pay the bills, because he doesn't pay the bills, he's going to end up in soup.
Correct.
That's the only motivation to run the business for most people. Some people cross that level, are open to learning, because I believe, as you rightly said, everybody starts with a vision, right? He's an employee. He thought, I want to do this, had an idea, started off, became a self-employed solopreneur, then built a team. And started going. But what you knew at that stage helped you reach here. And beyond that, you have this tunnel vision. We understand that. You want to get a different perspective. A third person coming in can really give you the perspective. Now, if you look at data, 90% businesses never even look for a coach. Now, that's really staggering, because what will happen? High probability a negative exit might happen. High probability. Some people might be lucky. Maybe you're in a business which has got very less competition, whatever, you're still surviving. But you'll never make it great. So for me, the question is, for nobody, no matter who's watching, a business owner, if he wants to build a legacy business which outlives him, outlives generation, what is that he has to do from this moment? No matter, maybe he's a 1 million business or a 10 million business. What should they do?
Well, first of all, let's go back. There's 3 layers to goal setting. Okay. So most people never get out of layer 1, which is an away or a negative goal. Okay. Meaning, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be working 80 hours. I don't want. So they tell you what they don't want. That sort of goal is a survival level goal. Okay. It's just pay the bills. And that epidemic of wimpy goals is there. It's like a business person that says to me, I want to do last year plus 10%. I'm like, you don't need a coach to do last year plus 10%. You can do that anytime. Just work a little bit harder.
For people, 10% is also not happening.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like they say, I'll do last year plus 10%, and they do the same.
Yeah.
So the second layer of goals is moving to positive goals. Okay, so you said legacy. Legacy is the third layer of goals. So I would start with most of them with that level of goal called vision. What is the vision for your business? Where do you want it to go? How big do you want it to be? So we ask 2 questions when we first start coaching you. Number 1, by what date do you want to be off the tools? Meaning, if you're the lawyer, by what date do you want to stop doing the law work and start running the business work? If you're a plumber, what day do you want to stop being the plumber and start doing the running the business work? The second goal I ask people to set is, what date will you finish the business? By what date? And Tom Watson taught us this many years ago. He was the founder of IBM, right? Big worldwide global conglomerate today. But he said, I got a picture in my head of what I wanted IBM to look like when I finished. And I went to work on IBM, not in IBM. And that to me changed my thinking dramatically about how the world fit together in that manner. And so what I ask people is, well, when you finish, how big will it be? What will the revenues be? What will the profitability be? What will the business be worth when you're finished? And by finished, it means you can take a 3-month vacation and you come back and it's bigger, so the business runs without you. So if you're looking to do all of that, I would say the number one thing you've got to do is your own learning. Your learning. You can't... the Australian in me is coming out all of a sudden. Like, you cannot outgrow your learning. You just can't. And in business, you've got to remember that while you think you're growing the business, the reality is the business is growing you. The business is teaching you everything you need to learn. That tough customer, they're there to teach you. That team member that's annoying, they're there to teach you. Because your job as the founder is to become the owner. And by owner, I mean a business that can run without you. Then you move into the investor where you start deploying capital. And then ultimately the entrepreneur where you start buying and trading and scaling companies.
So that's the way we need to look at. So as you rightly said, first question is, when do I stop doing predominantly the date? 6 months, 1 year from now. If I'm a plumber, I'm a saloon, I'm an artist, whatever it is, when do I stop it?
Yep.
The second is, how big it will be when I exit in my head, right?
Yeah.
Whether it will be 100 offices, 10,000 employees, what is that number? What is the impact you want to create? Have a clear vision and work backwards.
But I would also say, think global. Think global. You talk about, so the advantage I have being Australian is there was 20-something million of us. I had to go global. I didn't have a choice.
You didn't have a choice.
And that's why I moved to America, because there's 30-something% of global GDP in one country. So it was like, I had to do that. I think that Indian entrepreneurs would be amazed at how well they would do globally if they just started challenging themselves to do that. I think there's an amazing level of entrepreneurialism here.
I guess so. So you're from Australia. I read a little about your background. Your entrepreneurial stint, it started in a Christmas present which you sold to your brothers.
Oh, yeah. My dad loves telling that story.
How did that happen at that age? You get a present, but you sell it to your brothers.
I think when you're young, and where my entrepreneurial flair actually happened was I was 7. This was when I first learned about entrepreneurialism. Back then, we had milk was delivered to your house, right? And so the milkman would deliver every day. You'd leave out some bottles. He would bring you fresh new bottles every day. Well, my dad became friends with the milkman. And what I had to learn is that, we went to his house for a barbecue one time. And we arrive and he's got this big, beautiful house. And I'm just like, Dad, is the milkman rich? And Dad's like, yeah, he's made good money. I'm like, well, because my dad was an accountant. I'm like, but Dad, you're an accountant. Shouldn't accountants be richer than milkmen? And I didn't get it until later in life, what I learned. But what I learned from my dad and the milkman that day is he would buy a company, a milk run, a milk route. He would buy it when it was run down. And he would then go and build relationships and make sales and build it up. And then he would sell it that year. So he would capitalize. Now, what does capitalization mean? When you sell a business, you don't make 1 year's profit in that year. You make anywhere from 5 to 30 years profit in one transaction. If we look at, say, a famous example of this, Elon Musk. If Elon hadn't have sold PayPal for a couple of $100 million, he wouldn't have had the money to start Tesla, to start the solar company, to start SpaceX. So he took that capitalization event and turned it into an entrepreneurial series type thing. And he's done it again and again and again now. But that's a good famous example of that.
So it was 87 when you had a first.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because I went to work with my dad, and he was an accountant at the time, and it was like counting money. Oh, that seems interesting to me. So I think as a kid, it's what you surround yourself with, what you get to see. Yes. Definitely. And seeing my dad in that phase definitely helped me with that.
But you still did your business administration, majoring in accounting, and went for an accounting job.
I did. I went for accounting jobs, and thank God nobody gave me a job. You know, if they'd given me a job, I might have worked 30-year career just to get partner and then eventually retired and died.
Because the Action Coach started somewhere there, because the more you started seeing businesses, you saw the numbers, you felt they're actually going to get bankrupt very soon.
Well, yeah. So what happened, age 16, I won the Rotary Youth Leadership Award. And that meant they sent me away for a week-long training on success and leadership and those sorts of things. And at 16, getting put into an environment where you're taught leadership and taught to believe in yourself and taught those things, very big difference. And that led me to meet Mr. Jim Rohn, 16 years of age, Brisbane City Town Hall. I sat and listened to Mr. Rohn. Now, 31 years of age, I opened for Mr. Rohn in the Sydney Convention Centre.
One full cycle.
Oh, yeah. I took him my notes and I showed him my notes from when I was 16. He signed them for me when I was 16 years old. And he said, wow, this is a great set of notes. Please call me Jim. I said, yes, Mr. Rohn. Some people deserve that honor of always being Mr. And for me, that was him. So what happened with Action Coach, at the time I was running photocopy shops. So most young people won't know what that is, but back then you didn't have a printer at home. You went and got a photocopies at a store type thing. Well, my customers, and there was one particular customer, he was a very good customer, and he stopped coming in. So I called him and asked, what happened? Did we do something wrong? What did we do to lose your business? He said, oh, Brad, I'm sorry, but we went out of business. And it didn't dawn on me till that point that a business could fail type thing. I was 20 or 21 at the time. And I started just doing seminars in the photocopy shop of I started with newsletters about how to grow your business and what you should do, because I was reading all this stuff. So I started writing newsletters. And here we are today, 33 years later. Action Coach has now done over $2.6 billion in revenue. We're in 85 countries. We have 1,189 offices as of last week. We opened 2 to 3 new offices a week somewhere in the world. And all because a young man got interested in learning about business.
What was Jim Rohn's impact? Your first seminar with Jim Rohn.
Three things. Okay. Three things, because I wrote them down and printed them up. Number one, never wish life were easier, wish that you were better. Business will never get easier. You got to get better at business. Sales will never get easier. You got to get better at sales. Second one, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And I say work harder on yourself than you do on your business. If you're not learning, your business stops growing. Your business will never outgrow your learning. So the moment you stop learning, the business dies at that point, because now we're getting deep. That's the second law of thermonuclear dynamics. Yep. The tree is either growing or dying type thing. And a business is the same. You cannot have status quo because costs are always rising. Competitors are coming on. The weeds are growing around the tree. So you've got to do that. And so the third thing, when I went down to get him to sign my notes, I said, Mr. Rohn, what's one thing I can do to guarantee my success as a young man? And he said, son, it's simple. Read a book a week for the rest of your life. And Mr. Rohn used to say, no one can do your reading for you. Well, he didn't know about Audible coming along. So all the audiobooks now, I listen to audiobooks and podcasts every week.
Amazing, man, Jim Rohn. Amazing. Yeah. 2 things which impacted me. For things to get better, you have to get better. For things to change, you have to change.
Yeah.
Formal education will help you earn a living. Self-education will help you earn a fortune.
Yeah.
2 things which changed my life from Jim Rohn.
Yeah, if you can find some recordings of Jim Rohn in the 80s and 90s, they're the best ones ever. But, philosophically, success is formulaic. And this is one of the challenges that every generation ownership is important. What you own changes. Yeah. Now you might own a YouTube channel versus when I was young, you wanted to own a factory. Do you know what I mean? So ownership will never change. What you own does change over time.
Now changes every decade, every 5 years, every 3 years. The change is happening way faster, right? What do you own and what do you feel about owning, right? Things are changing.
Look, the speed of business, one of the things I notice is that it seems to move a lot faster than it actually does. Like you hear of 70 or 80% of businesses are using AI. We're still only 3 and 4% using paid AI. So let's be clear. AI is coming, but it's not going to kill you if you don't get onto it this week type thing. Now, those who want to be ahead, you should be on AI and you should be learning as many platforms as you can. But, business doesn't quite race at the speed everybody says. Let's be blunt, there's still a lot of business owners that don't know how to do their Instagram profile right now. So,
that's the world we are living in. Let's be very honest, right? Okay, tell me how ActionCOACH started.
Another one of the great mentors, Rob Kiyosaki, who's now famous for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he and DC Cordova put me on stage teaching, because when you have success as a young man, everyone wants to know, what did you do? How did you get successful young? Because a lot of it, people seem to think it takes generations to create success. And that's something for the younger generation to understand. When I grew up, it did take tens of years for success to really happen, real wealth to happen. Today, it can happen in a matter of years. It's much faster from that perspective. So ActionCOACH happened. They put me on stage and I fell in love with teaching. And that's why I still teach today. Even though I don't need to do anything, I'm still traveling the world, getting on pods, doing the teaching, because I want to live my legacy. I don't want to leave a legacy. My legacy needs to happen now while I'm alive. And so ActionCOACH, I was doing a speech and people would come up to me at the end and say, can you help us? Can you help us? And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm busy running my own businesses and maybe I'm a little slow. But after about 50 people asked me, can you help us? I'm like, maybe there's a business in this. Maybe I should get started on this. And so I started coaching because I just said to one guy, listen, I don't have time to consult with you or anything. Just call me every week and I'll try and coach you through what to do.
This is the time when business coaching, the word did not exist.
Did not exist. Now, I'll tell you why I called it business coaching. At the time, Trout and Reese had a book called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. And one of them is, if you can't be number 1 or number 2 in a category, invent a new category. So I couldn't be number 1 or 2 in the training business or the consulting business. So I said, you know what? I'm going to call it business coaching and I'm going to teach people about this. And so now, again, 30 years later, business coaching is synonymous around the world with business success. So there was a period where it was, I don't know what that is. Then there was a period of, you get a coach if you're failing. And now it's, if you want to be great, you need a coach. You can be okay without a coach, but you can't be great in business without a coach.
Yep. Now let's cut corners, come back to where we are talking about. Let's talk about businesses. You have a 6-step framework in which you start with mastery.
Yeah.
Why is that very, very important? Why do you start with mastery?
So to grow a business, you need to install an operating system. Now, an operating system is what brings the whole business together. It's not like SOPs or checklists and stuff. It's how the whole business runs. The business needs a good, solid base. So go back to my definition of a business, a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So the first thing you need is a commercial enterprise. So you need the mastery level. You need a product or service that can sell consistently at a profit margin, that there's good time management in the business, there's a plan, there's numbers, those basic things that every business must have in the mastery area. If you don't have goals or a goal for the business, you don't have mastery yet. If you don't have documented numbers, you don't have mastery yet. You can't grow a business that is not profitable first. I see people say to me things like, well, we'll grow into our profitability. Look, if you're Amazon with billions in capital, yes, you can grow into your profitability. If you're the rest of us who are bootstrapping this thing, you can't grow into profitability. You need profitability at mastery. Be patient for growth, but be impatient for profits at that level.
Can you stress a little for a small and medium business owner? If you're thinking about growth, if you're not profitable, there's no point thinking about growth. You need to be first profitable, right?
Yeah.
This is what you're saying. Your mastery is to be in your finance, in your product, in your delivery. How do you deliver your services? And also the direction you're going, where you're going, your destination. Those are things you have to master. That's the foundation level. After that, how do you scale?
Well, then from mastery, we go to marketing. Now, marketing is a fairly simple thing if you break it right down. It is the profitable buying of lifetime customers. So let me break that down for a second. Buying customers. If you spend money on marketing, you will, and it gets you 10 customers, then you say, okay, how much did each customer cost to buy? If we really understand business, business is about demand generation, not supply. Most business people go into the business of supply and they don't get good at demand. They might be 80% supply and 20% demand.
But
20%
I'm going to pause
sales.
you. Can you explain that a little deeper
Okay,
for people
so
to really get it?
If you're 80% doing the work, the plumbing, the lawyering, that, and 20% the sales, the marketing, your business is never going to scale.
That's a supply business, basically. You're just supplying, right? Yeah,
it's all about supply and not about demand. If you look at the best businesses in the world, the Apples, the Teslas, the Louis Vuittons, the Ferraris, the Rolexes, they're all about creating demand. Could Ferrari make more cars?
Yes, they can, but they focus on demand more.
But they don't want to.
Yeah.
Why don't they want to? They want to be sold out. They want it to be exclusive. They want it to be that way. Could Hermes make more bags? Absolutely they could. But then there wouldn't be an exclusivity. Then they couldn't charge the top price sort of thing. So demand creation is what marketing is all about. Now, marketing is a 5-step formula. So it's leads by conversion. So if you don't know how many leads or prospects your business gets per day, it's very hard to improve it. Why does every sporting team get their statistics? Because the only way to improve it is to get statistics, right? To get the numbers. So then it's conversion rate. So leads times conversion equals number of customers. So there's your first 2 points, lead generation, conversion. So when someone comes to us, we have the ActionCOACH business operating system. So within leads, there are 93 strategies in the world for lead generation. That's it. There's not 2,000, not whatever, but there's 93 of them. We have them all documented, the books, the how to do it, all that sort of stuff. And someone goes, well, I'm using 2 strategies. Yeah, you can't have a growth business with 2 strategies. Now, if you want to scale business, you need paid strategies. You can have growth without paid, but you can't have scale without paid. So from leads times conversion equals number of customers. So then you got to work the next 2 parts of the formula, which is number of transactions and average sale. So your repeat business rate, because repeat business is where there's profit. If there's no repeat business, it's very hard to have profit. Okay, so we've got to make sure that our repeat business rate, and that's where simple things like databases, CRMs come into play. And most businesses don't even have a good CRM. And not only they don't have one, if they do have one, they don't use it. They're not writing to their customers every day or every week, asking them to come back, making offers, encouraging them to do more business with them. So that number of transaction point, and then your average sale. So number of customers times number of transactions times average sale equals your revenues. So then revenues is multiplied by margins to give you your take-home profits. So that's your 5 items: leads, conversion, transactions, average sale, and margins. So if you don't know those numbers, you're not going to grow. If you don't have paid methodologies for those, you're not going to scale. But we look at every business and understand that if you divide a business up into its most important parts and you fix each part, then you multiply the results. So here's a simple piece of math for anyone listening. If you take all 5 of those areas and you improve them by just 10%, tiny little 10% improvement over 12 weeks, 12 months, however long it takes, bottom line is 61% improvement because it multiplies 10% times 10% times 10%. It multiplies out, and that's the leverage factor of that. So yeah, mastery, then marketing.
So these are 5 screws you can turn. Even by turning it 10%, it will compound to a 61% growth.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
And what if you get one of them by 15%, one by 20%, but that's what a marketing of a business is. A marketing plan is a leads plan, a conversions plan, a repeat business plan, a average sale plan, and a margins plan. That's what a marketing plan is. How do we buy profitable lifetime customers? And that lifetime is real important.
Yeah.
Too many businesses are built on one-off sales. Again, I went to a great little restaurant yesterday here just down the road from the hotel. Now, here's a question. They don't know if I'm coming back or not. Did they get my name? Did they get my email? Did they get my phone number? Did they get anything to ask me back ever again? No, they did not. Businesses miss massive opportunities by not communicating with their existing or past customers.
So marketing is never an expense, it's an investment.
That is true. If it's done correctly. Now, if you don't know the numbers, your marketing is probably an expense. You know, in today's world, the greatest thing about digital marketing is it teaches you CAC, customer acquisition cost. It teaches you lifetime value, LTV. So digital marketing has made us very aware of what it costs to buy a click, to buy a customer, those sorts of things. So I think that's important to, but if you're putting out 10 and getting back 20, what better investment is there than marketing?
Yes. So you're saying marketing is an investment. If it's done correctly, you need to really diagnose to understand it's done correctly, or it might be an expense also. Can you give me the distinction between marketing and branding? Because marketing is something you shout loud and tell who you are.
Yep.
Branding is something what people talk about you when they have coffee.
Absolutely.
Simple distinction. So
I don't need to explain it much more than that. But marketing shifted in the last 10 years, my friend. You know, when we look at 10, 20 years ago, marketing was 20% of the sales process. Marketing's job was to get a name and a phone number, or a name and an email.
Just a lead, basically.
Get the lead. And then sales would do 80% of the work. They would do the heavy lifting, right? Today, with the internet the way it is, people will get on their phone or get on their iPad or their computer, and they will research what they're buying and do 60 to 80% of the work themselves. So by the time they actually speak to a human, now the younger generation, they're stating it very clearly. We're at 40% do not want to speak to a salesperson. If they have to speak to a salesperson, they're not even going to buy. If they can't just click buttons to make the purchase, they're not going to, type thing. So we got to be clear on the fact that marketing today should be doing 80% of the work. And that's why content is king. You know, when we look at what content we're doing, see, people ask me, why do I go on other podcasts? Why do I do that? A, because I love teaching. I think that's the most important. But B, when people get to know you, because trust in today's world is built through digital mediums more than it is through face-to-face. And so by getting to know me, hearing my story, learning from me, I will build more trust with people. And that's what your marketing has to do today. If, you know, ActionCOACH is a franchise business. So someone looking to join our franchise, they will watch 5, 10, 20 hours of videos and read dozens of pages of information before they make a decision. So we've got to be very clear on the fact that we need to continuously build permanent content. I want to make sure that word's important. I see too much emphasis on instantaneous content and not enough emphasis on blog posts, websites, YouTube videos, because YouTube lasts forever.
It's a digital asset which will multiply forever. Yeah.
Forever. But Instagram's gone in an instant. It's in the name.
Yeah.
You know? So that's not saying Instagram's bad. Instagram's a great marketing medium. But there's a reason Mr. Beast uses YouTube to build his fortune, not Instagram.
So marketing has changed, digital marketing, and the customer knows anything and everything about you before they're coming to you.
In most cases,
and
yes.
they do not want to talk to a salesperson, which is a big insight, right?
Older people still want to talk to a salesperson, but younger people definitely not.
So now the emphasis is more on marketing. 80% what you do should be marketing.
Yeah.
And it's content again. How much content do you put? How people get to know you? Your social proof, your social credibility. What does your social media handle say? What do other people talk about you?
Well, that comes back to your point.
Yeah.
Social mentions are more important than they've ever been before.
Yeah.
Having people check in. I know in our restaurants, for example, we design drinks that are social media drinks, meaning that you will film that drink being poured. One of them is a martini that the glass is full of cotton candy. So you pour it over the cotton candy and it all melts into the drink, and people film that. They place it everywhere. We have at least 2 dishes in every restaurant that are Instagram dishes.
So these are restaurants which you coach?
No, they're mine.
Your own restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay. So you plug in at least 2 dishes which are Instagrammable, basically.
Yeah, like one of them, our chicken parmesan, right? The chicken parmesan is cooked. It comes out on a big plate. It's massive. But we then bring a hot skillet and we pour the cheese and the sauce over it at the table. And we say to you before we do it, hey, grab your camera out. You want to film this. What do people do? They film it. What do they do when they film it? They share it.
Yeah.
So you want as many mentions, but also ratings, testimonials, reviews. They are more important now than they've ever been before. And if you don't ask, I had to learn this the hard way. I remember early on, I didn't ask my best customers to rate me on anything. And therefore, the only ratings we got were negative. Mm-hmm. Because, when you annoy someone, they're going to be annoyed. It's like, you didn't put enough ketchup on my burger. Okay, that's why there's a bottle there, but I'm going to write a 1-star. Okay, righto, dude. But if you go to your best customers and you ask them to review you, ask them for testimonies, you ask them to give you ratings on sites, that works, especially in the new AI marketing age.
Okay. So marketing is critical. 80% what you do is marketing.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell me personal branding, as you said, content, how much is personal branding important for a founder in today's age?
Well, let's just look at it very simply. How many people follow Tesla on Instagram and how many follow Elon Musk? A founder will have anywhere from 10 to 100 times more followers than the brand itself. People follow personality, not brand. So when someone comes and sees me do this, 9 times out of 10, they're going to follow Brad Sugars. 1 out of 10 people will follow Brad Sugars and ActionCOACH. So it's a distinct difference. People follow humans more than. So that then brings us back to the fact that, as a founder, what are you doing to be seen out there in the world? A founder who is unknown, if anything goes wrong, then that founder doesn't have a leg to stand on out there. If something goes wrong, the founder at least has a platform, a voice to, apologize and correct. We've had certain customers and things go wrong and you get a 1-star at your, we had one in our restaurant and this lady gave us a 1-star and we're like, hang on. You asked for none of this and you're complaining you didn't get it. All right. But when we go back on the ratings platform and we write back to it, because we've got 500 5-star reviews, that one negative review isn't going to hurt you, sort of thing. But it really is important today for founders to build brand, to be seen out there in the world. I think it is a fool's errand for a founder to think, no, I'll just let the brand speak for itself. No, today's world is different to what you grew up in. Today's world, the founder needs to be seen.
Founder needs to be seen, but only word of mouth is not enough.
No. Well, word of mouth is where we're at today. If social shares is the new word of mouth. Someone sharing your content, someone sharing your story, someone posting about you, that's word of mouth today.
Okay, best known any day will be best. That's where marketing comes into play. You might be a best product, nobody knows you, it's done.
Yeah.
So you spoke a little about digital marketing. With AI coming in, what is the shift happening according to you?
I think there's 3 things we got to look at with the AI shift. Number one, AI is not a search engine, it's an answer engine. So AI is making the choice for the customer. Okay, so you'll go to Google and you'll type in, what's the best restaurant near me for this, right? And it'll show it up and you'll scroll through 5 or 6 pages. Well, AI will scroll through the 10 or 20 pages for you in the same amount of time and come back and give you an answer. So if you're not the answer, then you've got to start looking at, okay, what is it that AI is searching on? And it's looking at ratings, reviews, testimonials. It's looking at mentions. It's all of those sorts of things. Awards is more important now than ever before. Our restaurants, we wouldn't go out for awards historically, but now if there's an award thing, we're going for the award thing. We just have to do that today, and being rated at that level is really important. I think the second thing with AI and marketing is that we're going to see fairly quickly that generic content is going to be killed off pretty fast. As fast as AI can create content, Google and like ChatGPT, people like, I created it on ChatGPT. Yeah, ChatGPT can see that you created it on ChatGPT. In fact, it knows it because it remembers creating it, type thing. So I think we're going to see more real stuff. Like, here we are in the room. Yep. Yeah, he's real. It's not fake stuff that we're doing out there. I think that's going to become more and more important. AI doing what it is doing is making the human element more important than it's ever been before.
Thank you for nailing it, Brad, because I feel it's very critical for people to understand that the human element is more premium than ever.
Oh, look, when I started in business, I learned that 80% of business was routine, so systematize it, and 20% was human. What AI is doing, or what machine learning machine is doing, is we're moving that 80% of business will be machine or computer-based, and 20% will be human-based. So one of my other businesses, we have a longevity centers where we help people with their health and all of those sorts of things. You know, we have a machine massager these days. Now, it's great. It gets the job done, but it doesn't replace it. It's never going to replace that. Going to a concert will never be replaced by listening to it on your iPad sort of thing. You know, it's just not going to be.
So for people who are saying business coaching, why can't I ask AI? Why should I go to a business coach? What's your answer?
Well, because knowing what to do and doing it are two totally different things. AI telling you what to do doesn't mean you understand it, doesn't mean you know how to implement it. And third, it probably doesn't give you the motivation to implement it. AI is not going to call you up every week and go, did you do it? Did you get it done? You know, I know with coaching that a big part of our coaching is just giving people the confidence to implement what they should be implementing type thing. So I think that the human nuance is very different, you know. The third thing I would say with AI and marketing is that the intelligence that we can get today is more important than ever. So in the information age, it was all about getting the information. We've reached a point where there's too much information. So now in the intelligence age, it's how do we use that information? So when you could connect your AI tool, like you go to Perplexity and you connect computer to, you log it into your Instagram, you log it into your YouTube, you log it into your web statistics, your Google Analytics, it can now evaluate every single day all of the information you get. There's no way you can read all of your, just Google Analytics. You could be the best CMO in the world. You still cannot read every report in Google Analytics. Yeah. You can't possibly read all of your YouTube stats every day. But if you connect it into AI, it can. You know, we've had AI for a long time. We just haven't had the computing power that we have today. Google's algorithm was AI. Yeah. But today we have computing power at such a level that AI can work in an instant, not over a week sort of thing.
Okay, now that you do a lot of work in India. I know there are more than 100 plus coaches in India doing a lot of work, a lot of small and medium business owners. In a week, Action Coach reaches how many people in a week across the world?
Around the world, about 280,000 that we reach in our group programs, and 18,000 on our very high-level CEO programs. So, lots of people we reach every week.
Lots of people. India story, according to you, as you rightly said when you started, that India is way bigger than what Indian business owners actually think. They should look global. For a service provider in India, if he has to look global, how does what should he start thinking at? What are the steps to do if I want to think global?
Yeah, I think the first step is get on an airplane. That's ultimately the first step. Go and find your industry or your profession's convention in another part of the world. Fly to England, fly to Germany, fly to Singapore, go to the US. Go and look at just what's happening in the world. I think that's first and foremost. Because one of two things that'll happen. You'll either see things that are not happening in other parts of the world that are already happening here in India, or you'll see things from the other parts of the world that are not yet happening here in India. That's a distinct advantage right there. If you get a 6 or 12 month timing advantage just because you went and saw something on the other side of the planet, fantastic timing advantage. The second thing is to remember that you can't scale genius. So how do you systematize what you're doing? And that also brings us back to the rule of one. Okay, so when we're looking to scale, let's go back to the McDonald brothers, right? The McDonald brothers in their burger business, the reason they grew dramatically is they got rid of a lot of things. So they got rid of car-side service. They got rid of 10 different types of burgers and all of these other meals. And they just said, we're going to sell this burger. It's a 10-cent hamburger. That's it. We're going to sell it with fries and we're going to sell it with a milkshake. That's what we sell. So by simplifying, they made the process of making everything much easier and able to be done in hundreds and hundreds of locations, sort of thing. I see too many businesses today where they should be getting rid of about 80% of what they do. So Steve Jobs did it when he went back to Apple. Apple had 300 and something products. He took it down to like 12 or 20 products because he realized that 80% of your business comes from 20% of what you do. So stop selling the 80% that only brings in 20% of the revenue. The longer you've been in business, the more you've added products or services just because someone asked. Stop doing all of that. It's wasting your time, wasting your energy. Find the 20% of what you do that you can be world class at. Find the 20% of what you do that you can be amazing at. Focus on that and scale around the world with that rather than trying to be all things to all people.
So you go back, look at whole business, knock off 80%, which is giving you 20% revenue. Other 20%, go vertically deep. Plus go outside and see what is happening.
Yeah.
Conventions, exhibitions, whatever works for you.
Simple example of this one. So our marketing agency in the UK, when I first bought a share of the marketing agency, they did marketing for all types of companies in all types of ways, built websites, did social media, did this, did all of those sorts of things. And I'm like, oh my God, there's no way we can grow this business because we're trying to do 100 different things for 100 different types of customers. And I sat down with my partner in the business and said, who do you get the best results with? And there was one. He said, dentists. We get the best results with dentists. I said, why? Well, we've built this amazing website for our dental client, and it's phenomenal, and he gets amazing results. I said, great. Find me a list of how many cities there are in the world that have dentists that you could sell a website to that are non-competitive with each other. You don't want two cities where the dentist competes. You want them far enough away that the dentist, he says, fantastic. I said, great. Now go marketing to every one of those cities. Like there's 10 dentists in that city. You write to all 10 dentists and you say to them, hey, we have the best website in the world for dentists. There are 10 dentists in your city. We're only looking for one dentist to have our website. It's the best in the world. Here's an example of it. You can take a look at it. You can see why it's the best in the world. And we will be choosing one dentist to have our website in your city. So we've already made it. We don't need to make another website. It's already there. We automated filling it in. So send us your photographs, put them in here. Send us your local content, put it in here. Boom. You're selling thousands of the same website to dentists all over the world instead of trying to, let's find another customer and see if we can help them with their marketing. No, that's too hard. Way too hard.
So Brad, necessarily saying you have to nail your niche. Who do you sell? What do you sell? Why should they buy from you?
Yeah.
Your differentiator.
And if you're the best,
they're going to buy from you.
Yeah.
So who do you sell is very important. What do you sell? Can you narrow it down is very important. Why should they buy it from you? If they can really differentiate that, this is what is going to happen.
Well, it's very hard to sell lots of different things to lots of different types of customers. Imagine, how do you do marketing when you've got 100 target audiences? You can't do marketing when you got 100 target audiences. Narrow it down.
That's the key. Brad, you spoke about mastery. You spoke about marketing, but there are 6. Can you tell me about the 4?
Yeah. So from mastery and marketing, we then move to systemization. So once you've got some volume with the marketing, now you want to move to systems. Okay. There's 9 stages to systemization. We don't need to go into detail. What we need to understand is this. You shouldn't run the business. You should run the systems that run the business. If you don't have a business operating system, you are the operating system. It's all in your head. As the business gets bigger, it gets harder. Business should get easier as it gets bigger. If business gets harder as it gets bigger, it means your systems aren't there, your people aren't there. You haven't trained the people and built the systems. So it really is that philosophy of, is the business getting easier as it gets bigger? Yes, fantastic. Your systems are doing a great job.
So this is where system, process, tools, your delegation, technology for running all that stuff, CRM, everything comes into play.
Everything comes into play there because what you're aiming to do is build consistency. And, a lot of people think consistency is boring. The only thing that you want in business is consistency. You want to have that consistent delivery of the product or service. McDonald's wants their burger delivered the same way all across the world. So a customer that's from here in Chennai can go and get a burger in Singapore or Los Angeles and have the same experience type thing. We want consistency because consistency gets repeat business and consistency gets referrals. When someone experiences your business great one day, awful the next, they don't give you referrals. When they experience consistency, they give you referrals.
That's why your system, everything comes into play. That's the third step.
Yep.
Can we go to the fourth one?
Fourth is team. So when you look at building a business, commercial, profitable, there's mastery in marketing. That works. There's systems. Without you, that's the team. You got to build the people. And I will go down in flames stating that if you build them, they'll build it. You hire good, make great. You can't hire great people. Why? They've already got a job. They're already working for someone else. They're already running their own business in a lot of cases. So you hire good and build great. And someone once said to me, Brad, but what if you train them so well they can leave? I said, I want to train them to that level, but I want to run a company so good they want to be a part of the culture. They want to stay. So building a great team starts with leadership, okay? So, when I teach management and leadership, it's about building competent, productive people. That's management. If you don't have competent, productive people, there's a lack of or bad management in the organization. Leadership is then about passionate and focused people. So how do we build passionate, focused people is what leadership is. But then it comes to a common goal. What is the goal of the organization? Does everybody win from that goal? And so we go on to build a great team so that you can step back. You can take vacation. You can do. When people start coaching with ActionCOACH, ActionCOACH is a membership organization. When you join, one of the things we get you committed to is that ultimately you'll have work from home Wednesday. It's a work on the business day, not just in the business. And so as your team steps up, you can step back sort of thing. So that's step 4.
Team. Very, very critical piece because people always ask this question. Suryan, how do I get good employees? You don't get good employees. You get an employee, train them, build them, they become good. That's the key thing, right? You don't get good employees.
Now,
and as you rightly said, you have to train them. If they leave, it's fine, but build a culture, they're going to stick with you.
Yeah.
Where the vision is shared and they understand where we're going together.
You can sometimes get good employees too, though, but that comes down to learning recruiting. Just remembering that the good employees already have a job.
Yep.
The good employees are working for someone else. So recruiting today is much a marketing job as it is a recruiting job. If your job ad doesn't get put in front of those people who are already working, you can't recruit them. So I like to think of sporting teams recruiting versus companies. Most businesses don't recruit, they hire. They put an ad out and they hire whoever's available type thing. Recruiters go and find the best person for the job and recruit them to come and work for you. They
need to
sell
headhunt
them.
the person you want.
Yeah. You use a headhunting firm and they go and find them. They bring them over to you. That's what you look for. I remember the story of Alan Mulally. Alan was the CEO of the Year in America twice. He once won CEO of the Year running Boeing aircraft because he turned around Boeing. And then Ford came and recruited him. Ford tells the story that it took them 3 years to recruit him to come and run Ford Motor Car Company. But then he turned around Ford worldwide. So you think about recruiting from that perspective. Great teams recruit great players.
Okay. So that's the team.
Yeah.
What's the next step?
So then we've got the base method. Now we move into scale. Now, scaling a business is different to growth. If it gets harder as it gets bigger, that's growth, okay? Scaling means, by definition, it gets easier as it gets bigger. Scaling is where, and I'll use an analogy that we've already done, McDonald's, right? People say McDonald's is a multi-billion-dollar company. I say the McDonald's is a $2 million company done in tens of thousands of locations. So when you think of scaling a business, it's one thing that is done in thousands of locations or thousands of ways or that type of thing. So another example of that would be like a clothing brand. There's a famous guy in America, Damon John, who built a clothing brand. And then he went on Shark Tank. And so he built one clothing brand that was a global clothing brand. What do you think he did next? He built another one. And then he built another one. And then he built another one. And then he built another one. So I look at it for me with ActionCOACH. I built a coaching business. And now we have 1,189 offices around the world doing that. So I built one and now it's in thousands of locations type thing. So scaling comes down to 5 core disciplines. The main one that most people struggle with is that of strategy. Strategy is really about what's the business model. And there are 13 business models that scale and grow fast. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones. And people are like, well, I haven't learned the 13. Okay, well, maybe we should start you there with learning those 13. And if anyone wants to learn that, they can just follow me on any social media, DM me the word ebook, and the team will send you a link and you can get the ebooks. Mm-hmm. But you think about growing a business at scale, it's different. When you got one location, it's percentage growth. Mm. When you go to scale, it's multiplied growth. Mm. And so I look at, a good example from here in India, Naturals, the hair salon, they went from having 6 hair salons they own to they've just topped 1,000 hair salons. That's a phenomenal way of understanding. You build a great model and you put it in thousands of locations.
Okay, so scale. And you said there are 5 things. One of that is strategy, right?
Yeah.
Can you share the other 4 also? Let's close scale.
So strategy is number 1, okay, in there. Then we've got business development, which when you're scaling biz dev, the marketing and sales is different. So you have to move from regular marketing to launch marketing. So at the peak, Subway Sandwiches was opening 5 stores in the world per day. Mm. So you imagine how their marketing was launching a store, not just running a store. Very different. Mm. Then you got the people side of it. When you're scaling, again, I'll stay with the Subway Sandwiches example. Imagine how many people they had to bring in. Uber around the world. Imagine how many people they had to recruit, train, induct, all of those sorts of things. So your people becomes a part of it. 4th is then we've got to take a look at your mission, okay? Because you can be a small business without mission, but you can never be a large scale business that is not focused on mission in some way, shape, or form. You need to do more than just make money if you want to be a global entrepreneurial phenomenon. You need to give back. You need to add value to the community, to the world, to something. I know when I started the Action Coach Foundation, we teach young people how to be entrepreneurs. Because when I was 16, I wanted to be a business owner. And everyone said to me, no, you don't want to do that. It's too risky. You want to get a good job. You want to go to college. You want to build a career. That's what you want to do. Well, funnily enough, guess what's the most risky thing today? Having a job. If I'd gone on and become an accountant, I'll be out of business. AI is going to take every accountant's job in the near future. So luckily I didn't do that. Became an entrepreneur. So that's why I started my foundation. Teach young people that it's okay to want to build your own business. It's okay to want to be your own boss type thing. And so then the 5th and final is execution. When you're scaling, execution is different to when you're just running your business. When you're running a business with people that have worked with you for 5 and 10 years, operations is real easy. When you're opening a new store every day, everywhere, then your training and your induction and your systems have to be way stronger than they do beforehand. Ray Kroc, if you watch the movie The Founder, he learned that with McDonald's, They had to get much stronger systems to be able to scale than they did with just the singular store.
So that's scale. What's the last one?
Freedom, the exit. So freedom is that exit where we decide, do we want to go passive exit or do we want to go financial exit? So
the positive exit.
So you're looking then, so once you go to that final level of exit, you're looking at a strategic sell versus a financial sell. So a financial sell is where you're selling to, say, a VC firm or a home office, someone that's looking at the numbers of the business to make their buying decision, versus a strategic sell. So let's imagine I was a company based in Australia and I wanted to expand into India. Well, it would be faster for me to buy an existing Indian company than it would to do it myself, sort of thing. It is generally much cheaper to buy a business than it is to do marketing. It's much cheaper to buy a business than it is to get the licenses. It's much cheaper to buy a business than it is to build the technology. We're seeing that in AI right now, where rather than building the technology, they're just buying a company. We're seeing that, like one of our clients from the UK, he had a Japanese firm wanting to move into the UK in the logistics business, trucking, transportation, shipping. Well, they couldn't get the licenses, so it was easier for them and much cheaper to buy his company, and they paid him massive multiple because he had the licenses to work the certain ports that they wanted access to. So strategic selling is what we have to learn at that stage. How do we sell for a lot more?
So that's the freedom stage.
Yeah.
And what I love about exit, for me, I want people to consider exit for the reason that the business will be more systemized. It will run more without you. Because if you want, whether you want to sell it or not is a different story.
Whether you do
just
or not,
the mindset,
it'll run better.
Yeah.
If it can be sold, it means it can run without you, which means it's making more money anyway.
So for that reason, let them think about exit.
Yeah.
So that it can run without them, it can run better. Okay, for someone watching who's still not into business, let's say they're still working, but they have an entrepreneurial dream, want to start something on their own. How should they go about it?
I think the first thing you got to do is understand that learning comes first. So read 5 more books, listen to 5 more podcasts, do that sort of stuff. If you're still asking, how should I do this? You've missed step 1. How is the enemy of most goals? Okay. We got to go back to how success actually works. Dream, goal, learn, plan, action. So if you have a dream of being a massive entrepreneur, fantastic. Turn it into a goal. My goal is to start my first business in the next 6 months. Okay. So set the goal. I'm going to start a business, and I'm going to start a business that's going to make me this much money in the first year. Then go do the learning. Read 5 books on how to start a business. And this is what builds your business plan, because the actual planning, the time sitting there writing the plan, is not about the document. It's about what you had to learn to be able to write the document type thing. Now, of course, AI can assist you with all of that today, but the learning part of it is what's most important. And I would say, second thing, so do the learning. Second thing, get a customer. Just get your first customer. Go do something on the side. Make it a side hustle. Make it a side gig, whatever you want to call it. But get a customer. Learn how to get customers. Learn how to do that sort of thing.
This step happens before you, when you create the product and service?
I think, look, I'll give you an example. A young man I was coaching in the US, and he was a chimney sweep, right? That was his business. He worked for a guy sweeping chimneys and doing all that stuff. And he said, Brad, what should I do? How should I get into business with myself? I said, how many customers do you have? He said, I don't have any customers. I said, great, go get a customer. Start there. How much are you going to charge them? I don't know. Great, start there. Once you start developing it, and the business you start will never be the same business that you end up in. You know, I look at Action Coach. We've been in business 33 years. We've had to change business pretty much 7 times during 33 years because the way we deliver it is different. The technology is different. The market is different. Our competitors are different. Customers are different. Economies are different. You've just got to keep growing and changing. And as long as you remember that, I think you'll do well. But it comes back to the one thing about the decision to start your own business. 2 emotions when you have massive decisions. Excitement and fear. Guess what the problem is? Most people let fear win the majority of the time. Sometimes you got to decide, okay, I'm going to let excitement win. Here's what happens when you go into business for yourself. You get about 80% of the way there. And then you start looking for reasons not to. When you get to 80%, pull the trigger, do it. Just go. Just get started. You know, don't wait till you're 100%. You will never be 100% certain until you've started, until you're doing it. That's the challenge.
Okay. That's the reason why. And now tell me, 95% startups fail. Why do they fail?
Well, because they're focused on supply, not demand.
Okay.
They spend so much time designing their store, getting all of the right shelving, making sure they have the right accounting package, all of that sort of stuff. And they forget that you have to buy customers.
So we are inspiring people to be entrepreneurs, but what is that they have to be careful when they start? If you just have to package both the questions together.
What you got to be careful on when you start is you don't commit to long-term debt. Okay. So you don't lease things that are going to have a cost for the next 5 years. You don't, use secondhand furniture, for goodness sake. You don't need a brand new desk. You'll be fine with the old desk. All right. Oh, but Brad, it doesn't look on brand. You don't have a company. There is no brand. Let's go. If you worry about branding before you worry about getting a customer, you've missed the point.
So the focus is build a product service which gives you a profit. Can we go behind that before you look at growth?
Well, this is where pricing is probably the biggest mistake new business owners make. They think, I can do it cheaper. You can. Doesn't mean you should. it means that what you're doing is undercutting the competitors, and there's a reason the competitors charge that price, because they know that if you don't charge that much, you're going to be out of business fairly soon. You can do it cheaper, but you've got overheads, you've got taxes, you've got all of those things that you're going to have to take care of. So yeah, don't try and be the cheapest, try and be the best.
So you say just start at 80%, just start, then you go on mastery, the step number 1. Where you work on the product, work on the delivery, work on the focus, work on the customer, get those skills done, make it profitable, then go on the other steps.
Yeah.
That's the way to go forward.
And get around other business people. You know, I think one of the greatest things about Action Coaches and BNI is that we build community of business people. When I put a group of business owners in the room together, they learn so much from each other and with each other. I think, but it helps that they get a little competitive with each other too. It's like, oh, you're doing that? Okay, I better build that much too, you know? So I think that getting around other entrepreneurs is important.
Deep down, we are humans. We are social beings. We need that connection. Meeting people, you get inspired. Right?
Yeah.
Peer-to-peer learning is very critical. That's why mastermind groups, all kinds of learning platforms really work. People should get into it. That's the way to go forward. Brad, you're a one who's actually got a category going. Business coaching category. It never existed. How does it look when you look back?
You know, it's kind of crazy because most people say dominate your niche. And I never wanted to dominate a niche. I wanted to dominate a category. And so by inventing a new category and then being the dominant player in that category, you know, first mover advantage was very important. Going as fast as you possibly can was very important. You're going to be out of control at some point in time. If you try and remain in control, you're not growing fast enough. If you're not making mistakes, you're not growing fast enough. So I think that was an interesting thing. But I've had to tell my people the whole time, we're not building a business, we're building a profession. So we've got to take... And I think we do this well. We take an extra level of accountability and responsibility because we see ourselves as not just leading our business. We see ourselves as leading an entire profession. And it's with that we have the honor and the privilege and the responsibility of making sure that business coaching and training and education worldwide is done very well.
What's the vision 10 years from now?
So we are at this point set on a 2030 plan. So we're not thinking 10 years out. I would challenge a lot of business people that thinking 10 years out right now is a little too far on a practical basis, definitely on a dream basis, 100%. AI is moving us at such a rapid rate of knots, and we don't even know how fast AI is really moving us. We can't, like, we're in the background of it, sort of thing. Now, I use it every day, all day. My team uses it every day, all day. We have our own AI platforms, all of those sorts of things, but it's going to change us at such a rapid rate. I believe by 2032, we're going to have large-scale unemployment on purpose. So the world economic system, I believe, is going to start shifting. We will be paying people to not work. I believe that's going to change. So
Elon Musk is saying a lot about that. We're going to pay people not to work.
Yeah, well,
which is going to happen 5
you
years
have to
from now.
remember, buddy, it's only been 100 years that we had the 40-hour work week. Henry Ford in 1926, he and his partner decided that they would go to the 40-hour work week and the 5-day work week. So 100 years later, here we sit thinking, okay, what does the work week look like by 2030, by 2035? I think somewhere in that bracket, we're going to move to a 30 or 20-hour work week because humans are going to be replaced in a lot of things. I don't see McDonald's having employees making the burgers more than 5 years from now. Like, you think about it, that burger is pretty dang simple. How do you make it? Boom, boom, boom. It's like, as a kid, I watched a TV show, The Jetsons, and it's like, I feel like that's going to start to be a thing. But we see it, I mean, you see it currently. The accounting department in a company. The accounting department 20 years ago had 20 people in it. Today, it's got one person and a point of sale system and a software system running the whole accounting. The manufacturing business today, you know, 20 years ago, you had 1,000 people to make an automobile. Today, you've got 5 machines and eight people type thing. So we're seeing that transition. So it's very difficult to go further past that. Where we're going for is we want our software business to be, we want at least 300,000 active installations of our software, because our ABOS business operating system is a software system. And we're not sure on the number of millions of passive activations, meaning people using the software themselves. But we want 300,000 businesses on our one-to-one coaching using our software by 2030. So
that's the goal. Yeah. That's where you're going, 2030.
We're on a 16x business plan at this point in time. So with number of installations of our software. So that's the big plan.
Brad, with you, I can go on speaking because the topic is so vast, right? We can do a podcast on marketing, one podcast on branding, but it's such a phenomenal conversation. We have a tradition here in Greater Than Podcast. It's called 3, 2, 1. I can ask anything 3, anything 2, anything 1. Can I go
Got
ahead?
it. Let's do it.
Okay, 3 people you're very grateful for in your life.
Oh, 3 I'm very grateful for. The first, I'll just do a category, my family. Without family to keep you grounded, and I include in that my family, my great friends who keep me grounded, especially my Australian friends who, it doesn't matter how successful you are to your Australian friends, when it's your turn to go and get the beers, you go and get the beers, sort of thing. I would say I'm also extremely grateful for a great mentor of mine. His name is Paul Dunn. Paul runs a massive charity organization nowadays. He gave up running profit businesses and went into the not-for-profit called B1G1 out of Singapore. I just caught up with Paul in Singapore a week or so back, and he was the first real business mentor for me. So I think that was a real important one. And if I was to say a third, it's not someone who's famous. His name is Len Summers. He was the one who nominated me for the Rotary Youth Leadership Award when I was a kid, and put me on that map on that yearn to learn path. And I think once I got the yearn to learn, I knew that greatness would come. Okay, great. That's 3. 2 books you're currently reading. 2 books I'm currently reading. You've mentioned Elon. There's a book about the Elon system called The Algorithm, which goes into his thinking and how it was written by the CEO of Tesla, or the ex-CEO of Tesla, who worked for Elon for obviously quite some time. That's one that I'm reading. And interestingly, I'm going through the audio version of one of my books called Billionaire in Training. I wrote Billionaire in Training 21 years ago. I've just rewritten it, and I'm listening through the audio book of it to make sure that any edits need to be done. So that's the 2 I'm currently reading. Whether it's, if you want me to go to another book outside of mine, I'm rereading Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley. Daniel started as a student of mine when he was 19 years of age, and now he's gone on to become the student shall become the master. So reading his book about demand creation. Oversubscribed. Okay. 1 goal of Brad. Just 1 goal if you have to mention. One current goal. 1 current goal. Okay, I'll give you, there's a thing called a half Everest, and I'm training for that right now, which is 22-mile uphill hike in 1 day. So straight uphill for 22 miles as a hike. So that's the goal, to finish that in September. And I want to finish it in under 12 hours. So okay, that's the goal you're going for. That's September the current goal, September this year, climbing the mountain for 22 miles straight in 1 day. Okay, Brad, your final message to the people watching this podcast. Your biggest job in life is pretty simple. Your biggest job is to be the best version of yourself possible. It's not to be like Brad or like anybody else. It's not to be the next Tony Robbins. The job you have is to be the best version of yourself, the best friend, the best partner, the best business person, the best investor. So if you think about the best version of you, every year the best version of you would get an A+ in each area of your life, an A+ in health, an A+ in finance, an A+, best version of you. That's the challenge. Thank you so much, Brad, for this amazing conversation. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you for staying till the end. This podcast is about helping you shift perspectives, push your limits, and take steps that actually move you forward. Just remember that you're greater than anything life throws at you.
I am Surendran Jaishekhar signing off. Love yourself. Don't take life too seriously. Live a life of meaning and purpose.